Everybody, welcome back. Doing another Marvel Future Revolution video. In this one, we are going to talk about a sort of a way to how to protect yourself a little bit. I had a couple videos lately that I've been doing some builds on, some gear stuff. MFR, are you okay? Are you okay, MFR? No copyright infringements there. And so I'm just trying to, I don't know. I was talking to, shout out to Joe Pan. I had an idea about, some ways to sort of protect yourself a little bit, stay with the meta, that kind of thing. And I think these are some good ideas that I want to explore. So I want to hear from you guys if you think this is something that's reasonable. I want to hear from you problems with this as well. Because, look, a lot of us really like this game. We're living in a Marvel world, a Marvel IP. That's sort of like what we like to dive into. And this game does do some of that, but sometimes the juice isn't worth the squeeze. So that's where we kind of get in some issues. And we get problems where if something changes, you're kind of like stuck. So this is a way to maybe not get stuck as easily. So we're going to check that out. If you're new to the channel, check out the Discord link in the description below. Easiest way to follow along with content. Hammer on like buttons, click notification bells, subscribe, all that sort of thing. If you want to help the algorithm go, I really appreciate that. And let's get to it.
Bring me WolverThor!
Where to start this? So first off, let's talk about the problem. The problem is, or the problem that people are feeling is that they go down a path. That path can be secluded on a character. Say it's a Captain Marvel, and then that character is not good. Or they go down a more detailed path within Captain Marvel and or Spider-Man, and then that path, the developers change that path, whether it's the dodge issues, the invincible issues. Now, again, I want to preface this by saying I do think those builds were too OP. I think something needed to be changed. But regardless, the developers changed it. A lot of people either quit, refunded, just walked, all sorts of different stuff, and refunds end in bans, so I don't necessarily condone that. To me, it's like, but what I want to focus on here is the idea if you pick a path and they make a balance or change that you can find a different path. The problem with that right now is that it's not, one, before they had transmuting, you couldn't do it. Now they have transmuting. So gear-wise, that's pretty easy. You can just take something from one character, put it to another. And it's like, okay, but you need other specialization skills. You need to bring your cards over. You might not want to play that character, all that sort of thing. So, but let's just for a second stay on that and say, you know what? I want to give myself the most flexibility in case Netmarble does something, whether it's a new character, whether it's nerf my character, it's something. What can I do to adjust? How do I plan for this? Because I just like playing in this Marvel universe. I want to stay in this Marvel universe, and I want to wait out until the game gets a little bit more refined and I'm really, really happy. So the question is here, you want to get a piece of gear. Like, don't focus on a character, focus on a piece of gear. And it might start with the character that you've got, but focus on the piece of gear that really gives you the most flexibility. Because with that, you can, bob and weave a little bit, assuming you want to stay in the game. So having said that, as you look across here, like, don't look at the characters, but look at the gear. First off, specials, they're really hard to get. I don't necessarily recommend this especially for free-to-play players, even light spenders. But for any of the Krakens watching this, if you're wanting to be flexible on this, the funny thing is the most god tier ones is technically steampunk, but it's Captain America, Doctor Strange, and Magic, two of which are getting reworked right now. One of which you can't even transmute to, and then the other one is Storm, who is not really that great at PvP. So it's like, maybe don't focus in on that one. But Rise the East, look at that one here. It's kind of like, okay, maybe this one, it gives you one god tier, 1, 2, 3 really goods. Doctor Strange, it's still pretty good. And, it's kind of meh on Star-Lord and Storm, but it gives you, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 characters that you can easily sort of transmute to easily. and still do okay. One of which is Iron Man. Another one is Black Widow. Now the other two is Captain Marvel, who's an issue, and Captain America. Eye over Cyrus, there's only 3, one of which is Spider-Man, but the other 2 are Black Widow and Star-Lord, both pretty good. So that one is probably the easiest one to kind of focus on as far as flexibility wise. But the more reasonable thing to look at is probably the sets of regionals. So you come across here, first off, none god tier, but how many, like which one of these have the most? I'd say Midgardia. So this is the part where it is 1, 2, 3, 4 in Midgardia, really good. The only other one that is close to that is maybe Xanderth. That one has 1, 2, 3, 4 really goods, a couple solid. So between Midgardia and Xanderth, those look to be the best sets of gear that give you the most flexibility. So what I would recommend, if you're this type of player, is maybe focusing on the sets of gear where it can give you a bit more flexibility. Just because you want to be able to play, you want to be able to be in a situation if they adjust a character you're on, you're like, you know what? I'm just gonna take this and move this to a different character because, you want to play on a character you like, right? So you might say, you know what? I had Captain Marvel, Midgardia. You know what? Black Widow's still decent. You know what? Iron Man's still decent. You know what? Star-Lord is really decent now. So you can easily move that stuff over. Midgardia seems to be that set. Xanderth, pretty similar. If I was a Spider-Man, honestly, I would have immediately rolled that Xanderth over to Star-Lord. Now, another problem with this, like I already mentioned, is one, specializations. Now they're trying to up that. Now this is, more I talk about this, the more I think I wonder if Netmarble is directing the game in this way where it's like, they don't want you to buy characters. They want you to buy gear sets and then move those gear sets to different characters. It's kind of a weird concept, but anyway, it's something to think about. So, but specializations, and then you've got gold to one, transmute the gear, specializations, and on top of that, you've got the cards, which we'll get to in a second. So if you had a Xanderth on Spider-Man, I would have considered rolling Star-Lord, which I know some did, but a lot of the people that I know who did that sort of were like, I don't have the specializations, I don't have the skills, like this is just, you know, it's just not, doesn't feel good. But if you can, in theory, move your gear sets, your card sets all around to where you want to, I don't know, man. I feel like there might be something to that. I think Jopan, you know, who is talking to me about this, might be on to something, especially as a free-to-play. Pick a set, and look, this video should have come out, you know, 6 months ago, frankly. Pick a set that is just like gives you the most flexibility. Period. Midgardia is it to me. Like Midgardia or Xanderth are the ones that make the most sense. Again, if you're like set on Iron Man, you know, okay, I guess Xanderth's not going to be for you, but you could do it. Now, again, Doctor Strange, Magic are the only Hydras with Storm, but Storm's also good with Xanderth. You know, it covers like what tunes don't those two gear sets cover? So like, now granted you might have both necessarily, but Xanderth is good in Storm. It's good in both Star-Lord and both of them are good on Star-Lord. Xanderth is good on Spider-Man. Magic is not good for either of those sets, so that maybe not good. Midgardia is good for Iron Man. Xanderth is good for Doctor Strange, and Midgardia is good for Captain Marvel and Widow. Captain America is the only one that doesn't really check a box for either one of those, but the Midgardia one's still solid. You know what I mean? So if you play between those two gear sets, covers all your bases. So, okay, now having said that though, the gold part of this. So transmuting gear is actually not that bad. It can be, you know, bad RNG, but the problem is cards. So one, you've got to get the card set to roll to the character that you want it to be on. And then you actually need it to roll to the skill or the bonus stat that you want to be on there. That can be difficult. So one of the things that Jopan was saying was like, yeah, but what if it was half the cost it is now? I'm like, now you might be onto something. Now you might be onto something. I could see that where it's like, okay, I might be able to convince someone not to quit or to stick around because don't you have Midgardia? All right, well, why don't you roll that over to, you know, character XYZ? Well, I don't have specializations. Okay, now that's a problem because those are hard to get. So I think that's a bottleneck that I think Netmarble might need to consider, and or, you know, Netmarble, let us take the specializations we've used on a character. If they're maxed, let us do it on another character somehow. You guys got to pick the lane on what you want us to do here, because I mean, I will say I've seen a lot of players frustrated and walking away. Part of the problem too, we've talked about this before, is transmuting. Magic is not able to be transmuted. I've heard a lot of complaining about that. I don't know when that's coming. I'm hoping it's soon, but I'm not convinced that it is. So we'll see. But I really think this could be something that could be good for players to help protect themselves. I don't know what you guys think, but I'd love to hear from you. This will help you kind of avoid things. Now, one of the questions is though, let's pull up the actual game itself, is you might want different gear sets or different stats on different people, and that I get. That's sort of maybe it doesn't cover everything. It does become a little bit more problematic. Like, I think I talked about this the other day. I ended up needing these boots because I needed the cooldown, whereas before these were my boots. I had 2 alt gauge, 2 stam. I didn't need cooldown. Well, now I do. So I only have 1 stam and 1 alt gauge on this, but that might not work for I don't know, maybe it's Spider-Man. I don't know, somebody who gets stam locked. Like, you'd want these on strange. I mean, right now I feel like this is a pretty good set for everybody, but let's just say hypothetically this is what we were looking at and this is where you went. Like, this might not, maybe this is good for Magic, but it's not good for the other two. And that's where my last point here is, keep the gear that you get to this level. Even if it's not perfect, if it's close, keep it. Like, this is one that sort of a weird set, but I'm kind of like, this could come into play at some point, maybe. I don't know. This one, I mean, this could be something that is, considered decent for, maybe a Magic. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. So, or maybe no, really it's the Magic. So long and short of this part of it is, when you roll this gear up, don't just immediately use it for fodder. Keep building it up, see what it is, see what the stats are on it, and then maybe move it somewhere else. I think it could be something that, where that's is at. I wonder, does this mean we've been building our accounts wrong? Have we approached this the wrong way? Is that our fault? Is that Netmarble's fault? I don't know. But what I do know is I think that some of this needs to sort of, I don't know. We need to find ways to be able to, if you want to continue to play this game, really find a way to, be able to compete and do well in it. One of the things that Joe Pan mentioned to me is that, the most important game modes right now are really Spec Ops, and I know a lot of people don't like this, Dimension Duel and Omega War. Spec Ops is the only thing that gives you gear sets. We've got Dimension Duel, which is the only thing that gives you, where's my weekly rankings? It gives you obviously, gives you crystals. So you want Dimension Duels, and then we've got Omega War, which is very, very similar here. And also gives you sort of some, that's the actual, it gives you more crystals and then Omega War points, which matter for well, I guess the badges, but the problem with the badges is that they're so RNG, it's kind of like, So yeah, so that's what I got for this. Let me know what your thoughts are. Again, shout out to Joe Pan for, talking about this a little bit. I think it's a very interesting concept. I don't know if it would work or not, but I think it's something that I know I'll definitely consider, because at least this point going forward, and maybe I'd recommend to other people as well. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a Discord link in the description below. Come let me know there. Hammer down like buttons, click notification bell, subscribe, all that sort of thing. Until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.